A Dance in Fire, Chapter 7, by Wogan Jarth. Scene, Sylvanar, Valenwood, date 13 Sun's Dusk, 3E397. The banquet at the palace of the Sylvanar was well attended by every jealous bureaucrat and traitor who had attempted to contract the rebuilding of Valenwood. They looked on Decimus Scotti, Leodis Juris, and Both with undisguised hatred. It made Scotty very uncomfortable, but Juris delighted in it. As the servants brought in platter after platter of roasted meats, Juris poured himself a cup of jaga and toasted the clerk. "I can confess it now," said Juris. "I had grave doubts about inviting you to join me on this adventure. All the other clerics and agents of building commissions I contacted were more outwardly aggressive, but none of them made it through, let alone to the audience chamber of the Sylvanar, let alone broker deals on their own like you did. Come, have a cup of jaga with me." "No, thank you," said Scotty. "I had too much of that drug in Falensti, and nearly got sucked dry by a giant tick because of it. I'll find something else to drink." Scotty wandered around the hall until he saw some diplomats drinking mugs of a steaming brown liquid poured from a large silver urn. He asked them if it was tea. "Tea made from leaves?" scoffed the first diplomat. "Not in Valenwood. This is rotmeth." Scotty poured himself a mug and took a tentative sip. It was gamey, bitter, and sugared, and very salty. At first it seemed very disagreeable to his palate, but the moment later he found he had drained the mug and was pouring another. His body tingled, and all the sounds in the chamber seemed oddly disjointed, but not frighteningly so. "So you're the fellow who got the Sylvanar to sign all the contracts," said the second diplomat. "That must have required some deep negotiation." Not at all, just a little basic understand of mercantile trading," grinned Scotty, poured himself a third mug of rotmeth. The Sylvanar was very eager to involve the Imperial State with the affairs of Valenwood. I was very eager to take a percentage of the commission. With all that blessed eagerness, it was merely a matter of putting quill to a contract. Bless you. "You have been in the employ of His Imperial Majesty very long?" asked the first diplomat. "It's a bit more complicated than that in the Imperial City. Between you and me, I don't really have a job. I used to work for Lord Atreus and his building commission, and I got sacked. And then the contracts are from Lord Vanix and his building commission, because I got him from this fellow, Regulus, who is a competitor but still a very fine fellow until he was made dead by some Khajiit." Scotty drained his fifth mug. "When I go back to the Imperial City, then the real negotiations can begin. Bless you. I can go to my old employer and to the Lord Vanich and say, 'Look here, you, which one of you wants this commission?' And they'll fall over each other to take it from me. It will be a bidding war for my percentage, the likes of which no one nowhere has never seen." "So you're not a representative of the Imperial Majesty, the Emperor?" asked the first diplomat. "Didn't you hear what I said, you stupid?" Scotty felt a surge of rage, which quickly subsided. He chuckled and poured himself a seventh mug. "The building commissions are privately owned, but they're still representatives of the Emperor, so I'm a representative of the Emperor, or I will be, when I get these contracts in. It's very complicated. I can understand why you're not following me. Bless you. It's all like the poet said, a dance in fire, if you follow the illusion, that is to say, allusion." "And your colleagues, are they representatives of the Emperor?" said the second diplomat. Scotty burst into laughter, shaking his head. The diplomats bade them their respects and went to talk to the minister. Scotty stumbled out of the palace and reeled through the strange, organic avenues and boulevards of the city. It took him several hours to find his way to the Prathala Hall. In his room, once there, he slept very nearly on his bed. The next morning, he woke to Juris and Boss in his room, shaking him. He felt half asleep and unable to open his eyes, but otherwise fine. The conversation with the diplomat floated in his mind in a haze like an obscure childhood memory. "What in Morrow's name is rotmeth?" he asked quickly. "Rancid, strangely fermented meat juices with lots of spices to kill poisons," said Bost. "I should have warned you to stay with jaga. You must understand the meat mandate by now." laughed Juris. "These Bosmeri would rather eat each other than touch the fruit of the vine or the field." What did I say to the diplomat?" said Scotty, panicking. "Nothing bad, apparently," said Juris, pulling out some papers. "Your escorts are downstairs to bring you to the Imperial Province. Here are your papers, our safe passage." The Sylvanar seems very impatient about business's proceedings forward rapidly. He promises to send you some sort of rare treasure when the contracts are fulfilled. "See, he's already given me something." Juris showed off his new bejeweled earrings, a beautiful large faceted ruby. Bast showed that he had a similar one. The two fat fellows left the room so Scotty could dress and pack. A full regiment of the Sylvanar's guard was on the street in front of the tavern. They surrounded a carriage crested with the official arms of Valenwood. Still dazed, Scotty climbed in, and the captain of the guard gave the signal. They began a quick gallop. Scotty shook himself and then peered behind. Boths and Juris were waving him goodbye. "Wait," Scotty cried. "Aren't you coming back to the Imperial Province too?" "The Sylvanar asked that we stay behind as Imperial representatives," yelled Leodes Juris, "in case there's a need for more contracts and negotiations. He appointed us undrape, some sort of special honor for foreigners at court. Don't worry, lots of banquets to attend. You can handle the negotiation with Vanich and Atreus yourself, and we'll keep things settled here." Juris continued to yell advice about businesses, and his voice became indistinct with distance. Soon it disappeared altogether as the convoy rounded the streets of Sylvanar. The jungle loomed suddenly, and then they were in it. Scotty had only gone through it by foot or along the rivers by slowly moving boats. Now it flashed all around him in profusions of green. The horses seemed even faster moving through the underbrush than to the smooth paths of the city. None of the weird sounds or dank smells of the jungle penetrated the escort. It felt to Scotty as if he were watching a play around the jungle with a background of a quick-moving scrim, which offered only the merest suggestion of the place. So it went for 2 weeks. There were lots of food and water in the carriage with the cleric, so he merely ate and slept on the caravan's as the caravan pressed endlessly on. From time to time, he'd hear the sounds of the blades clashing, but when he looked around, whatever had attacked the caravan had long since been left behind. At last, they reached the border, where an imperial garrison was stationed. Scotty presented the soldiers who met the carriage with the papers. They asked him a barrage of questions that he answered monosyllabically, and then let him pass. It took several more days to arrive at the gates of the Imperial City. The horses that had flown so fast through the jungle now slowed down in unfamiliar territory of the wooded Colovian estates. By the contrast, the cries of the province's birds and smells of his province's plant life brought Decimus Scotty alive. It was if he had been dreaming all the past months. At the gates of the city, Scotty's carriage door was open for him, and he stepped out on uncertain legs. Before he had a moment to say something to the escort, they had vanished, galloping back south through the forest. The first thing he did now that he was home was go to the closest tavern and have tea and fruit and bread. If he never ate meat again, he told himself that would suit him very nicely. Negotiations with Lord Atreus and Lord Vanich proceeded immediately thereafter. It was most agreeable. Both commissions recognized how lucrative the rebuilding of Valenwood would be for their agency. Lord Vanich claimed, quite justifiably, that as the contract had been written on forms notarized by his commission, he had the legal right to them. Lord Atreus claimed that Decimus Scotty had his agent and was his agent and representative, and that he had never been released from employment. The emperor was called to arbitrate, but he claimed to be unavailable. His advisor, the imperial battle mage Jagar Tharn, had disappeared long ago and could not be called on for his wisdom and impartial meditation. Scotty lived very comfortably off the bribes from Lord Atreus and Lord Vanich. Every week a letter would arrive from Juris or Boss asking about the status of the negotiations. Gradually these letters ceased coming, and more urgent ones come from the Minister of Trade and the Sylvanar himself. The War of the Blue Divide with Somerset Isle ended with the Altnarrow winning several new coastal islands from the Wood Elves. The war with Elsewhere continued, ravaging the eastern borders of Valenwood. Still, Vanich and Atreus fought over who would help. One fine morning in the early spring of the year, 3rd Era, 398, a courier arrived at Decimus Scotty's door. Lord Vanish has won the Valenwood Commission and requests that you and the contracts come to his hall at your earliest convenience. As Lord Atreus decided not to challenge further, as Scotty, he's been unable to, having died very suddenly just now from a terribly unfortunate accident, said the courier. Scotty had wondered how long it would be before the Dark Brotherhood was brought in for final negotiations. As he walked toward Lord Vanish's building commission, a long, severe piece of architecture on a minor but respectable plaza, he wondered if he had played the game as he ought to have. Could Vanich be so rapacious as to offer him a lower percentage of the commission now that his chief competitor was dead? Thankfully, he discovered Lord Vanich had already decided to pay Scotty what he had proposed during the beat of the winter negotiations. His advisors had explained to him that other lesser building commissions might come forward unless the matter were handled quickly and fairly. Glad we have all the legal issues done with, said Lord Vanish loudly. Now we can get to the business of helping the poor boss marry and collecting the profits. It's a pity you weren't our representative for all the troubles with Bindermach and the Arnesian business, but there will be plenty more wars, I'm sure of that. Scotty and Lord Vanish sent word to the Sylvanar that at last they were prepared to honor the contract. A few weeks later, they held a banquet in honor of the profitable enterprise. Decimus Scotty was the darling of the imperial city, and no expense was spared to make it an unforgettable evening. As Scotty met the nobles and wealthy merchants who would be benefiting from his business dealings, an exotic but somehow faintly familiar smell arose in the ballroom. He traced it to its source, a thick roasted slab of meat, so long and thick and covered in several platters. The Cyrodiilic revelers were eating it ravenously, unable to find the words to express their delight at its taste and texture. It's like nothing I've ever had before. It's like pig-fed venison. Do you see the marbling of the fat meat? It's a masterpiece. Scotty went to take a slice, but then he saw something embedded deep in the dried, rendered roast. He nearly collided with his new employer, Lord Vanish, as he stumbled back. Where did this come from? Scotty stammered. From our client, the Sylvanar, beamed his lordship. It's some kind of local delicacy that they call unthrapa. Scotty vomited and didn't stop for some time. It cast rather a temporary pall on the evening, but when Decimus Scotty was carried off to his manor house, the guests continued to dine. The Anthrapa was the delight of all, even more so when Lord Vanish himself took a slice and found the first of the two rubies buried within. How very clever of the Balsmer to invent such a dish, the Cyrodiils agreed.